to another Shelly savings video. Well, today we're going to make dog food. So we're doing a bit of a live cook on today. Now with our dog food, I've got an electric fry pan. You can use the fry pan on the stove obviously, and I'll just give them a little switch on. Now with your mince, just go to your butcher. You can usually pick up pet mince quite cheaply. I got $2 for a kilo, and I've got 2 kilos here. But you can use any meat you wanted to, as long as you don't have bones. If you have bones, you may want to keep it raw, because it's not good to give cooked bones to dogs. It will get stuck in their throat, and they'll cost a lot in vet bills. So I've got my pet mince here, as well as I have rice. Now when you make your dog food, your mince or your meat has to be 50% of whatever you're making. So it's 50%. I then have 500 grams of rice. People think you need a rice cooker when you're doing rice. You don't need to. Microwave will easily do it. You just put in your rice, however much you want. Add your water until you're about a fingertip above the rice where it floats. Put on the lid and we'll pop him into the microwave. Usually about 10 minutes. You'll start to realise what your microwave likes. Now I've got the fry pan going, or I thought I did. And I like to add just a little bit of oil. Do not add any onion. Onion is bad for dogs as well, so please don't do that. And just heat up my fry pan. Usually just the medium heat. You don't want to go burning the meat, and it doesn't have to be overly cooked as well. And once you're ready, start cooking away your meat. While I'm cooking this, I'm just going to go pop my rice into the microwave. Also, instead of rice, you could use pasta, it's up to you. But try not to make it more than a quarter of the full recipe. So in my case, I have 2 kilos of mince, and I'm going to use a couple of cups of rice. Now we'll just get cooking. I welcome back to my kitchen. Don't you just love the decorations I've put up? Brand new, perfect. Well, I've got my rice here, which is already out. As you can see, it's nicely cooked. I've nicely browned my meat. Now it's time to add some vegetables. I like to add peas and corn. You could do beans, broccoli, it's up to you. Again, no more than a quarter of the whole entire bulk should be of vegetables. So when I finish browning my meat, I like to just add about a cup, maybe a cup and a quarter of peas. Don't worry, I'll have the recipe put up. And a cup and a half of corn. You don't need to do a really big cook of these. I have them frozen, so they're already kind of hard cooked. They don't take very long to cook at all. Just turn them on, basically to warm them up. While it's doing its thing, get a bowl to do your final mix in. Just place in your rice. I may have cooked mine for a bit too long, but it's just for the dog. Again, you could use pasta like I said. Just remember to make sure it's no more than a quarter of the mix. Now another good thing to add to your dog food are eggshells. So during the week when I crack my eggs, I keep all my shells. This helps with calcium to your dog. And I like to add that to my mix as well. As well as that, I do also like to add a couple of eggs. So, just leave those there while we do up our veggies, which won't take very long at all. Now again, you can add fish instead of meat. You can do a mixture. Sometimes I like to do half meat, a few chicken hearts, maybe some liver. Some people love to give their dogs chuck steak. It's completely up to you. If you're going to cook it, please make sure you don't have bones. If you have bones, cook it raw. Again, if you want to cook it raw, just cut up into bite-sized pieces, and again, mix it up. Not a problem. It doesn't have to be cooked meat for a dog. I just like to cook it up to be nice. Some people also like to add a bit of gravy, which is another thing that you can also add to it. I do that every so often if I do a pasta mix. You can also do noodles instead of pasta. Completely up to you. I'm happy with how much that's cooked. So I usually like to slowly mix it in. I'll usually add about a little bit of my mince. This way it's a lot easier to mix around. If you don't have a big enough bowl, then just make your dog food in smaller batches. Some people buy large stock pots just for this, and you can always pick those up in op shops for next to nothing. And if it's just for dog food, it doesn't really matter if it comes from the op shop. And it's a good little thing to store away, nice 20 litre. So you don't have to do it into a fry pan if you don't want to. It just comes down to what you've got around the house. So don't go out of your way to make expensive purchases just to cook dog food. Now I'm going to add one of my eggs. And then crush up the shell as well. And that's where aprons come in handy. Now I still recommend giving your dogs dog biscuits. So usually what I will do is I'll give them 1 serving of this a day, followed by a serving of dog biscuits in the second half of the day. That way they're definitely getting all their vitamins and minerals from both of them. And you don't have to worry about them missing out on anything vital. Also, you know exactly what your dog's getting when it comes to the fresh meat. Always check out your local butcher. You'd be surprised what you can get with offcuts. Supermarkets also have a lot of offcuts, no problem there as well. Or if you know any farmers, why not have a talk to them? You'd be surprised what offcuts they'll have as well. But it's entirely up to you how much you want to spend when it comes to the meat. The good thing with the eggs, and as well as using any of the liquid that's come out of the meat, is it gives it a nice moist consistency, so you don't have to worry about adding any water. If you do want to add water, just make it up with some powdered stock as well to keep some nice taste in there. You don't have to just use plain. And I usually use a beef stock, which is perfectly fine. But if you're doing chicken meat, you can always use a chicken stock. Or if you've only got veggie stock, use any stock you've got lying around. Dogs are not that fussy really when it comes around to what you're going to feed them. They don't care about the brand, they don't care about the meat, and they don't care about what stock it is. I'll just stop filling up there for now. You don't need to watch me keep doing that. But you get a bit of an idea. You get a nice good consistency of dog food. Once you're done, put it into the fridge to cool down. Maybe wait about an hour. When you're done, I then get little Ziploc bags like this. I fill them up with about 500 grams worth, which is a good serving for a large dog, about 20 kilos. And then I just freeze them into the freezer. I take them out the night before, and voila, I've got my dog food. I find this type of batch makes anywhere between about 6 or 7 servings, which is quite a good price when you look at it compared to the tins. So I hope that's really helped you today, and I hope you've enjoyed Shelly's Savings and Shelly's Kitchen. And until next week, have a lovely day.